Channel from France in small boats to Rwanda suffered huge setback. An appeal court in Britain ruled that the government's controversial plan to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda is unlawful, as the African nation country can't be considered a safe third country. The scheme designed to deport asylum seekers in the UK to Rwanda as part of a £120 million, about $148 million deal with Rwanda to deter people from crossing the English Channel from France in small boats has been heavily criticized. The ruling by the three Court of Appeal judges was a major setback for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who pledged to stop people from crossing the channel and moving into the country. The court ruled that the removal of asylum seekers to Rwanda will be unlawful. The court went on to say that the deficiencies in the asylum system in Rwanda are such that there are substantial grounds for the court to believe that there was a real risk that persons sent to Rwanda will be returned to their home countries where they face persecution or other inhuman treatment. The United Kingdom government has made multiple failed attempts to deport asylum seekers to the East African country. And now joining us from London to discuss the implications of the ruling for the government and asylum seekers is Kingsley Oyemenim. Kingsley is a senior partner at KC Law Chamber Solicitors in London. And joining Kingsley is Alice Amikarali, PhD, who is also of the Obaseki Solicitors, another immigration law firm in London. Thank you guys for taking the time to join us on the program, both Kingsley and Alex. We'll go on a very short break now. When we come back, we'll go into the nitty-gritty of this ruling and the implication for both the government and the asylum seeker. But first, let us listen to what the judges have to say concerning the ruling itself, and of course what the Prime Minister has to say concerning the ruling. We'll be back and I'll take on my guest. Don't go away.
Britain's Court of Appeal has ruled the government's plan to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda is unlawful. Thursday's decision is a setback to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's campaign to deter migrants from crossing the channel in small boats. Three senior appeal judges ruled by a majority that Rwanda couldn't be treated as a safe third country.
The decision of the majority...
Judge Ian Burnett read out the ruling, though he said he himself disagreed.
The Court of Appeal Civil Division is that the deficiencies in the asylum system in Rwanda are such that there are substantial grounds for believing that there is a real risk that persons sent to Rwanda will be returned to their home countries where they faced persecution or other inhumane treatment when in fact they have a good claim for asylum.
Under a deal struck last year, the government planned to send tens of thousands of asylum seekers more than 4,000 miles to the East African country. Interior Minister Suella Braverman visited this accommodation built for them in Rwanda in March. The first planned deportation flight was blocked a year ago by a last-minute injunction from the European Court of Human Rights. In December, Britain's High Court ruled the policy was lawful, but that decision was challenged by asylum seekers along with human rights organisations. A government source said it was likely to challenge Thursday's ruling at the Supreme Court. But if successful, deportation flights would be unlikely to begin this year.
And the Prime Minister and I have made it clear that we will do whatever it takes to stop the boats and fix this problem. The decision today, as I've said, is disappointing. We respectfully disagree with the court judgment, but it's important to note that there are some elements upon which we were successful in the decision, and that actually Rwanda, we believe, is a safe country. We have a groundbreaking, world-leading partnership with Rwanda. I've been to Rwanda very recently. I've seen the arrangements in place. There are robust assurances, there is independent monitoring. Rwanda has an extensive track record of supporting 100,000 migrants and refugees. So there are good grounds for progressing with this policy, and I have every confidence in it.
Today, I'd like to update you on the progress that the Home
Sunak is under increasing pressure from his own party and the public to deal with migrant arrivals, and has made Stop the Boats a key promise. He's also grappling with high inflation and declining public support ahead of a national election. Political opponents say the policy is immoral and expensive. Sending each asylum seeker to Rwanda would cost more than $200,000, the government said this week. Opponents also argue that there are few legal routes for those fleeing war or persecution to apply for refugee status in Britain, forcing many to risk the dangerous crossings. Last year, a record 45,755 people came to Britain in small boats across the Channel, mainly from France.
Thank you for taking the time to still be there and watching the program. Is Global Matters. On the show, we will be taking a look at the judgment by the Appeal Court in the United Kingdom this Thursday, ruling against the government policy to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda. And I have joining me solicitors, immigration solicitors in the United Kingdom. I'll be taking a look at this decision. First, I have joining me Kingsley Oyemenem. Kingsley Oyemenem is the senior partner at KC Law Chambers, and Dr. Alex Amikarali, also is a senior partner at Obaseki Solicitors in the United Kingdom. But let me start with Kingsley. Kingsley, thank you for taking the time to join us on the program. I know you have handled many asylum cases. First, can we have your thoughts when you heard the government positions that have been moved up and down, left and right, on deporting asylum seekers to Rwanda at the time? What were your thoughts? Did you think it was a good idea? Did you think it was not going to work? Did you think it's going to be more expensive for the government in the United Kingdom?
Thank you for having me, Tunde. I think from the onset, when the Conservative government came up with this suggestion, I thought, first of all, it was most irrational, it was most immoral, and it was, to my taste and to any sensible person out there, it's something that was reached without giving it much thought. In fact, the practicality of it didn't seem to make sense. And I think the judgment from the Court of Appeal didn't surprise me at all. I'm sure the British government would like to go to the Supreme Court to challenge this, but you know, I wish them the best of luck. I believe so. That policy was born out of a political need by this conservative government, who have failed literally in every aspect, economic and otherwise. So they're trying to appease a particular section of the society. But I'm glad with respect to the outcome of the Court of Appeal judgment today.
Thank you. A decision that does not appear to be rational to any sensible human being. But Dr. Alex, before the British government approached the courts in the United Kingdom, there has been a decision by the European Court of Human Rights on this, also declaring that it's going to be unlawful. But with this decision by the appeal court in the United Kingdom, do you think justice is finally, I don't know if I should call it justice, rational? Okay, I'm trying to look for a good word to describe it. Do you think the government can now sit back to look at this policy that the people in the United Kingdom and the legal systems have both risen up to say, look, this is not working, stop?
Thank you very much, Tunde, for having me.
Welcome.
And I think you have just centered the correct the correct point of the issue. What happened yesterday is the victory of Britain It's the victory of rationality. It's the victory of the law. What happened yesterday was, I completely expected this to happen, and I'm not surprised that this happened. And yes, the government should sit back, relax, and think about a serious reform of all immigration policies, not just this one. It's not surprising because what happened here with the Rwanda policy happened in Italy over 10 years ago with the Libya policy, when illegal migrants were pushed back to Libya. So it's not surprising that the judge, the court yesterday ruled in favor of the migrants, saying that deporting them was an illegal.
Alex?
I could say that, can you hear me?
Yes, go on.
Yeah, what I can say also is that in some way the government expected that something was not really correct with the law when the law was presented to the parliament. As the secretary, she made a Section 19 statement on the front page of the bill by saying that the government cannot guarantee that the content of the bill is compliant with the obligation coming from the European Convention of Human Rights, by which the United Kingdom is bound because it's not part of the EU law, but it's a different international treaty. So it's not surprising what happened yesterday. We all are very happy that this happened. And the way forward will be a serious reform of the law, which, of course, the government is not ready to start based on what was said yesterday, that the government is intending to appeal this decision in the Supreme Court. Let's see what happens. We can just observe and try our best to comply with every decision.
Alex, it does appear, before I go to Kingsley there, I mean, there are about 3 countries that are involved in this matter. So we have migrants coming from Libya and other parts of African country are entering Italy. Yeah, and from Italy, they're trying to find their way to France, and they use small dinghy boats through France, through the Channel water to cross to England. And the British government has accused both Italy and France of not doing enough to stop the migrants from crossing over to Europe. And the government said, well, if France and Italy will not do enough, we should be able to deter, stop this migrant from coming into our country. Do you think if France and Italy, if they have done what they should do, Britain would not be heading in this direction? Alex?
Well, we know it's this is a big issue, you know. Migration is something very serious, and we all believe that everyone should be able to travel and to migrate legally. We are not here to support any illegal or mass migration into the UK. This is not what we are here for. But we observe what happens, you know. And in relation to Italy, Italy is part of the European Union, and immigration is part of the EU policies. So it is Europe that should be doing more for the only way to do this is to help progress in the African countries, because this is what Europe is there for also. Because there are several policies in Europe that say that Europe should be helping neighboring countries, and African countries are considered as neighboring countries. So every kind of relation between the EU and the African governments to improve the lives of people in Africa is absolutely welcome. In relation to France, France tends just to reject migrants to Italy, beating them, and there are lots of videos showing the abuse of power committed by the French police officers. So I would say not because I'm from Italy, but it's a fact that Italy is left completely alone dealing with this problem. And we know what happened in Greece recently also. And so we really need a more serious approach to the problems relating to migration at European level. And even though the UK has left the EU, the UK is part of Europe. So it should be a wider Europe approach to migration.
A wider Europe approach to migration. Kingsley, let me come to you. I'm aware, Kingsley, that you deal with a lot of asylum issues right there. A couple of times I visited you in your firm. I've been privileged to also work in your firm as well. See how you handle asylum cases, immigration matters, also both at Obaseki, solicitors as well. But Kingsley, these potential of having people come into the United Kingdom illegally, well, either through dinghy boats or through whatever means, and at the end of the day, people tend to use the whatever means to seek asylum. What are some of the challenges you face? It does appear now that the UK is now tightening the news around people using asylum to gain resident permit in the United Kingdom. Share with us some of these problems and how your firm has been dealing with some of these clients.
Tunde, thank you. It's ironic because I've just come out of speaking at a seminar.
Which you actually invited me to, actually.
Yes. Just that we face in defending human rights on immigration issues in the UK, Europe, and Canada. Now, what we have is not just the UK. We have a pushback. We have a full pushback from almost all European countries on not just only asylum seekers, but even those who seek to come in to the UK through the right channel. Now, Europe is a signatory to the same convention, which sought to obviously protect the rights of asylum seekers. There are laws out there that have been rolled out criminalizing certain asylum actions. Now, and it makes you wonder. I think perhaps recently the issue of the dinghy boats. You see, first of all, Italy and France should count as the first either safe country for any migrants who steps their foot into those countries before coming to the UK. And under the act itself, what Britain should have done would have been to simply send them back to either Italy or France, whichever of those two countries that they came through. But to then seek to take them to Rwanda, a third. Rwanda is a country that we know had gone through so many turmoils, and yes, they're on the trend of recovery. I think why was it not the case that the push was made back to, okay, let's send these migrants back to France or to Italy? Why Rwanda? You had recently the immigration minister who spoke about students coming from Nigeria and India. I think about 75,000 applicants from Nigeria to the UK who were entitled under the immigration rules to bring their family members. Now, suddenly it's become a problem. And what the UK immigration minister has come out to say, and who, by the way, is also an immigrant. Her parents were immigrants. And that's funny because she's come out to say, well, from next year, we're going to bring out rules where students can come in, but you can't bring your family, you can't bring your child, or you can't bring your husband. Now, the students who come in from, be it India or Nigeria, they bring an enormous amount of wealth into this country, in the billions. They're happy to take that money, but they're not happy to, sit down and think about policies that would effectively benefit the economy and also benefit those who are sacrificing all their time and finances in the economy. I think it's very questionable. It's things of discrimination. You saw what happened with the Ukraine crisis, how Europe suddenly rushed around, Ukrainians and spoke to every single person who was living in the UK to house and assist. That same treatment has not been given to other people. Then there were Nigerians, there were Africans, there were Indians who were in Ukraine when that problem happened, and yet they weren't given such sort of assistance or concern. Concerns weren't shown. It's a policy of constant discrimination. It's a policy that it's inhuman, and it goes against the Human Rights Act. It goes against the same act that they have implemented. They've set out there that they ought to abide to. Tunde, I mean, a lot of us who are in this, who are defenders of human rights, find ourselves almost sometimes under attack by the British government. They say that we encourage them, but what we simply do is that we use the law, the established law, and when we apply those laws to defending our respective clients. And I think what the UK government hasn't done yet, and I think they should do this, is sit down and actually go back to the drawing table and bring out policies that are sensible in the sense that it doesn't, when you're looking at it on the face of it, it's easily applicable, it's practicable, and it works. It works for everybody.
Right. Okay.
I don't believe so much. People flee for different reasons. There are those who flee for economic reasons. There are those who are fleeing because they are being persecuted in their respective countries.
Right.
And to say to me that, okay, fine, if you come through a dinghy boat by France or the channels, we will send you to Rwanda, and then we'll consider your asylum application in London. It's ridiculous.
Does it appear? Really did. All right.
It is ridiculous.
Thank you, Kingsley. As I'm running out of time, Alex, just in 2 minutes, because I need to go now. Two of the reasons given by the judges. First, they said Rwanda does not appear to be a safe third country, one, and that asylum seekers sent to Rwanda are most likely to be sent back to their country of origin and face back. I've been to Rwanda, the last Commonwealth, beautiful country, law and order. But the judges, they have a different opinion about Rwanda. I'm an African person. My view, I don't think that is just and right about Rwanda. Beautiful country, even though they went through a lot, but they've been able to come out of it. Do you think the judges are right in their opinion about Rwanda? They have not been to Rwanda. They've never stepped their feet on Rwanda. Are they right to have given such an opinion about Rwanda? Alex.
Yes, thank you very much. I don't think the problem is Rwanda as such. In my perspective, from my opinion, it would be the same problem also if these people were sent to the United States or Israel or anywhere else, The problem is the policy of sending these people as masses of people to any other country, which specifically in this case, with which they have no links whatsoever. If you are coming from Rwanda, it makes sense to send you back to Rwanda, but it would not be possible if you are applying as an asylum seeker.
Okay.
You cannot send me back to the country from which I'm trying to get the refugee status from.
Absolutely.
So the judges, they made their own considerations. I didn't go to Rwanda, so I cannot say much about it. But for sure, it's not the problem whether it is Rwanda or the States or any other country. It's just
about
wrong
policy.
Sending people exactly
Right.
as masses of
so
people. Thank you.
Alex, thank you so much for taking your time to join us on the program. You had a very busy schedule today. I had to pull you out. The same thing to Kingsley. Kingsley, you also had a very busy schedule, traveled out of London, rushed back to London to attend to this program. Thank you so much for your time. Hope my viewers learned some stuff from discussion today. My name is Tunde ALABI. My sincere appreciation to the team that's put this together. Let me wish you a wonderful week. Bye.
Sharing the African experience.
An Iroko tree has fallen. A tree that holds all the branches has fallen. What a sad news. Tears keep rolling down. People crying on. Tears keep rolling down. Good life. It's hard for me to say goodbye. You were a boss and a father, a very good man. Hope of the hopeless, you were a blessing to us. High Chief Raymond, can see you live on.
I'm looking for my brother.
Like you, nobody can take your place. Forever in our hearts, forever in our hearts. Tears keep rolling down, people crying on. Tears keep rolling down, people crying on. Crying like a baby. We miss you raining, crying a river. We miss you raining.
Told you guys, we don't live here. We're actually from Lagos on our way to Ibadan, and his body temperature just shot up so high that we had to move in here. It's an emergency.
What is it that makes you happy? Play with watercolor on paper while you smoke your life up?
Alazi, I am trying to tell you the truth. What more do you want from me, woman?
I have worked too hard to allow your son take away everything I have worked for with his foolishness.
Your entire life's existence and happiness depends on this matter. Your mother locked you in your own house.
Madam Bintu Koka, is that your services will no longer be required here. Thank you very much.